The Institute for Managing Sustainability at WU Vienna hosted a symposium to discuss what the newly adopted Sustainable Development Goals, SDG in short, mean for evaluation. The SDGs, adopted by the UN at the end of 2015, will guide the world's efforts in tackling most pressing sustainable development problems until 2030. The Institute currently coordinates one of the largest EU-funded research projects to date that deals with measurement and management of business impacts on global sustainable development. The Global Value Project, which inspired the symposium on evaluating the SDGs.
I think the whole symposium about evaluating Sustainable Development Goals is an important step right now. The Sustainable Development Goals have been now decided, but these are just goals. The main question is how to measure progress. And this symposium brought together very different communities of auditors, of evaluators, of NGOs and of scientists. And I think this is very rare that these different communities meet, and I'm very glad that they met at WU Vienna.
The Institute for Managing Sustainability, in collaboration with the Austrian Development Agency and the European Evaluation Society, invited international experts to discuss the importance of the SDGs for policy, science, civil society and business. SDGs set 17 goals and 169 targets aiming to defeat today's biggest challenges, such as poverty, hunger or climate change. But how can these goals be monitored or evaluated?
In March 2016, there will be a monitoring framework presented, and preceding that, there was an entire process that the indicators are going to be defined and defined well.
One of the biggest challenges when it comes to monitoring our progress on SDGs is the question of data. Integration of currently missing data into existing data systems or coordination between different data sources are just a few examples. Significant progress is currently being made in managing these challenges.
There's a good number of surveys, there's a good number of reporting system and review mechanism already in place, and a lot of lessons learned have been taken into considerations, and there's good collaboration with some of the UN agencies and the World Bank. So surveys such as the Demographic Health Survey or the Multiple Indicator Cluster Survey are very useful sources for finding the information that is required.
While the Millennium Development Goals, the predecessors of the SDGs, which were to be achieved by 2015, primarily focused on ending the sufferings of people in developing countries, the SDGs will be applicable to all countries, including the richer nations. The new goals will also scrutinize the economies, especially in terms of production and consumption patterns. The more developed countries and its affluent societies will have to make fundamental changes.
Rich countries of this world are now also concerned with the UN goals. Previously, the Millennium Development Goals were only applicable to the developing region. But now, all countries are developing countries when it comes to sustainable development, and all countries still have a long way to learn and to catch up. All goals need to be pursued right now, and I think we must be ambitious with regard to the 17 goals, but we can be ambitious, because if you look at the experience of the last 15 years, the developing countries managed to halve child mortality with the help of the Millennium Development Goals. So clearly, we as rich nations, with all our technological brilliance and all our wealth, we should be able to use the new UN Global Goals in order to become more sustainable and socially just ourselves.
The SDGs also address consumers, who constitute demands and create an immediate impact by choosing products or processes that can be more or less sustainable.
It's also about consumers are also consumer citizens. So they do also vote with their wallets. They do engage in carrot mobs or in NGOs and civil societies. And with that role, they have different forms and different options to impact the economy and also politics.
Therefore, consumers are also responsible for their ecological footprint. the measure of human demand on the Earth's ecosystem. This includes energy, clothing or nutrition, among other things. Achieving the reduction of our ecological footprint may affect our performance on other targets. This presents challenges that need be solved.
You will see that there is a target to double the productivity of agriculture. For instance, if you're doubling the productivity, for sure you will use fertilizers, and if you're using fertilizers, it will not be possible to improve the water quality in most of the places where it will be done. So you need to change the indicators that will be used, not to have sector-based indicator dedicated to each of the targets, but some cross-cutting indicators that are being able to link all the goals between each other. And I think it will be the right thing to do.
The Symposium for Evaluating the Sustainable Development Goals brought together experts, policymakers, businesses, international organizations and civil society to debate the implications of the SDGs for the evaluation of policies, programs and projects across sectors.
Well, this is a phenomenal event, and I'm very thankful to be part of it. In fact, the evaluation part is crucial in the SDGs, in achieving the SDGs. We must monitor the Sustainable Development Goals, but we must also evaluate progress, because that's the only way we can learn from each other and know that we're on the right track.
The symposium is very interesting because we are really at the beginning of an emerging reflection about how the SDGs will be implemented and evaluated. So I think that there are many interesting ideas.
If we want to take a real step forward, I think it's a question of civil society, it's a question of business, it's about innovation, and it's a question of policy making. And we have to stop pointing at each other and saying, you first. It's all of us who have to take the first step together.